And this is entirely different. Yeah. There's the song. This is like entirely different than basically the you know, ripping the fucking Switch while it's on the market. I love Bob.
Goldwall, Sylvia, and
Bob.
Bob.
Chief is my first language, you know? I love you.
You see, the joke is he's foreign.
She's also fun. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going around.
Again, because of the way this chapter works, and I assume going to work, is it the chapter was the most backtracking or the least backtracking? Because the first half of this chapter is entirely on the train.
It's on the train. I'm going somewhat out of order because it was just on my mind. There's a flip panel.
I wonder if they fixed the problem with that.
Me too.
Because if they didn't, that's kind of stinky.
You needed to come in here anyway. Seeking memory threat. Are you serious? It shan't be good for business. I mean, technically you needed to come in here anyway. Because sometimes with this chapter I do forget certain event orders. But the whole thing, to kind of loop around, because I'm probably going to talk about it on and off across several parts for the next, like, hour. Preservation is a noble goal, but all of y'all are not doing it with noble intentions. You're just doing it because you're greedy and entitled.
Especially because to technically fully preserve everything, that would mean we would have to preserve all the, like, terrible, barely functioning, shitty, like, NES license games. But when you people say you want preservation, you don't want anything like LJN put out. You want, you know, like, Nintendo's first-party shit or other famous third-party games like the original Castlevania or, like, Mega Man or whatever. That's why I have...
Yeah, you have to show him that thing, too.
That's why I have a problem with that, like, study or whatever that was going around a few months ago where it was like, oh, less than, like, 13% of all retro games are available on, like, modern consoles. Do you know how much badly designed shovelware...
There we go.
Do you know how much badly designed shovelware was on the NES? Most of the games in that statistic are fucking garbage.
Yes.
Like, most of the games in that would be badly designed NES license games.
That'll do nicely.
Or even badder, even worse, Eurojink from a microcomputer.
Full-fledged mystery, one that impacts you all. What? A mystery? Mystery, you just said, what exactly?
Is this supposed to be the same penguin from the first game? Or...
No! No, this is an entirely different penguin, but I believe
it's just the same joke of being a detective.
The one guy from the first game was Herringway, which was a play on the mystery novel writer Hemingway. He wasn't a detective. And then it was the mayor and his idiot wife. I'm a detective. There is a modesty, you might say, of a certain nose for these things. Little conundrum, my dear fellow passengers, pose no challenge to me. Ooh. Central clue to this case, and the most vital one as it happens, is that our perpetrator took the whole pot and stew and all, to my esteemed friends. Can only conclude that the one responsible is you, gluttonous woman! Oh, I'm so glad they left that line.
Why did they leave that line, but they took out the other fat-shaming line?
What? Me? Are you totally cuckoo? I have, like, no idea what you're talking about. Pardon me. Sorry, please accept my apologies, dear one.
Because we recorded Peach Showtime for this, and it should be easy to extract, edit in the Peach Showtime aha when he blames the one woman.
Aha!
Yeah, the Peach sound clip.
If I just get the audio from the recording, I could even do the build up. Aha! That is a great thing for a soundboard. Very good. Let's get serious,
I feel like that will become a new generation objection.
Mm-hmm.
God, I remember when that was everywhere in all the internet.
So what we
memes.
know is that we don't know.
You know, I'm amazed Phoenix Wright got as popular as it did, because that series is some anime bullshit.
Could have heard it out of your cabin. Zip told the actor. The zip toad, no! I love the waitress toad lady. Mr. Detective Person, just making stuff up. Tweety geezer. Tweety geezer. Geezer! Can't say I deserve such a verbal thrashing, but then who did it, Puzzle demons with every step. Also, I want to double check everything in here. Yeah. Maple, which is cool. Like, it's good stuff in here. It's just that, like, this game is just really inconsistent about where you can get good crap. Because the island wasn't selling maple syrup, and I kind of feel like it should have been.
No, if you want maple syrup, you gotta go to Twilight Town.
It's on the floor. I almost stepped in it. Trying to jump around, and I know I was repeating things, but like the whole thing, regardless, with preservation, and I'm doing air quotes, preservation is nice, but most of y'all really do want instant gratification where you feel like you're entitled to things for free.
Like I said, my problem with preservation is if we technically wanted to preserve, like, everything, again, it's like every, license, like, American NES game.
A fall in the kitchen. Oh, I get it. Food gets stolen. You blame me right away with no evidence. Not nice. They changed it.
They did slightly change it, because didn't he really
He said you blame the fat guy.
I thought he said you blame the chubby guy, not nice.
Drops the stew on the floor outside. No. Wouldn't know anything about that. People spill stuff. Nothing in the drawer, so no need to look. They changed it to do less fat shaming, but they left it.
So they did actually rewrite the line.
And you, gluttonous woman! Under the magazine. Gallery pot.
How did you fit that in a dresser?
Hit it all. It was me. You were so enamored of the stew that you wanted to still it to devour more. So you stole the entire pot when the chef was shelving. Let's answer. Yeah, that's right. Brief moment of weakness and won't happen again. Just as has been served.
How did this man fit a giant-ass stew pot in a dresser?
You with unkempt facial hair. Hey! Keen Sleuthing identified you as the correct person to call her ruffian. Now about the note in your cabin. I know of it as the lone detective on this train. The conductor confided in me. Cannot speak. Find me in cabin 6. Please return the pot to the chef if you could. drop off the pot.
And nothing can be misconstrued about that. Seriously, look at the size of that thing. How did he fit that in a dresser?
Please fake it. I butchered this language. So same. Take it. Hey!
Can't tell, is that joke racist?
And then there's the bigger pot.
Again, how?
You act like there's a problem here. Scratching an itch. My whole thing, the reason I get hung up on this, certain people I even somewhat respect, I'm sorry, like, you just come off like you're entitled, where, no, like, Nintendo or any game company does not owe you their old games. And to have the, like, oh, they don't care about their games. It's like, oh, fucking...
Honestly, I feel like if you were, you know, to say a company doesn't care about their, like, old game... If you're going to say a company doesn't care about their old games or whatever, I honestly feel like you could throw that way more at, like, Sony or Microsoft. One, because we literally have...
for detective work.
One, because we literally have way more instances of them literally throwing out the source code for old games. And two, and I find it so funny now because people see, you know, upgrading a game...
Ask your name. Demands you not.
Because people see upgrading a game to, like, widescreen and 60 FPS and shit as, like, objectively...
You're
like...
the famed Luigi... that was a good change.
What?
Said you're the famed Luigi, and they actually played a Luigi. Ha-ha! They played a Luigi clip. Anyway. What would it... No need to introduce us.
Basically, I know this is the opinion that will get me fucking ratioed. If you were going to say any company doesn't, like, care about their legacy content or whatever, I would actually at least say that applies way more to, like, Sony or Microsoft, especially Sony, because, like, you know, Nintendo this year released a fucking new ass Endless Ocean. Meanwhile, Sony has all these IPs they have done nothing
and
with.
For a company like Nintendo that apparently doesn't care about preservation.
Well, that's why I was going to say, again, if you want to say a company doesn't care, I would say Sony doesn't care, because someone might point out, oh, but Sony has, like, all these games available, like, digitally on the PS4. Except, they half-ass those, and, like, all of those ports put games that were originally 30 FPS and 4:3 in widescreen and make them 60 FPS, but because these games were not designed for this, they run and look worse. The PS4 versions of the Jack games are worse because the games were not originally 60 FPS and widescreen. So they're trying.
Yeah, good. It's still a full hill.
So they're trying to make them better. Actually, made them run worse.
And even then, what I was saying that sort of started this, for a company that doesn't care about their games, Nintendo sure seems to have all these games preserved where they keep selling you ROMs. Though, in that one video, and I am getting sick and tired of this, people in the comments on that one video were like, it's ironic that Nintendo, when we, like, hacked the NES Mini, that we found the, like, header for this, like, one emulator and ROM site. Nintendo stole their own ROMs from the internet, the hypocrites.
Well, no, you people have it backwards. That old emulator stole their ROMs from Nintendo.
That face.
That's a new face, right?
Yeah.
He didn't have the setting?
Mm-hmm. Wish I brought my GBA.
Wow, that's fucked up.
What?
Just, Mom and Dad are fighting again. I wish I had brought my GBA. Inferring that this is common enough where when it happens...
Domestic squabble? Not that it's my business.
Good old classic family-friendly domestic violence.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a... That was a Sega ad for... Isn't it Virtual Fighter? It's a kid and, like, his dad playing together and it says
domestic violence, yeah, that's on. Okay, I think this version of the chapter has slightly different triggers because I trying to get him to... I think...
I believe you have to listen to them because they're...
too small. Yeah. Something that will further his education. Yeah, I don't want it. Okay, yep. That's the trigger. Don't think you have to do that on GameCube. Detective. Yeah. Oh, bro. Bring what I really want. Give you something in return. Yeah. Talk to him. Get the other hint. Yeah. Yeah. I think on GameCube you needed both. Certain person's autograph. And then, okay, this is going how I roughly remember. And then, yeah, boy dreams of being a train engineer. Yeah, and that's all the triggers on GameCube. I'm just going to go with the GameCube logic, even if they changed it, because I don't actually know if they did.
I would assume they would keep something like that the same, because you basically needed all of the triggers anyway.
Yes.
If you only needed one, I could see them changing it where you would need all of them to make it less vague.
The thing...
And there's also one of those, him wanting to be a train engineer. This is kind of sort of a thing that makes more sense in Japan, because in Japan, trains are, like, way more common and thus way more popular.
Yes. It's time for the question of the day and my overall thoughts on the topic. So, anyway, how many of you are basically getting more and more tired of all the ridiculous entitlement related to Nintendo lately? I thought I would use this as an opportunity to see if there are any sensible people left, because the Switch 2 has become a big controversial topic as of late, mostly because no one is really paying attention to other stuff. Other companies have the same type of wording in their terms of service as well. But evil greedy Nintendo will break your Switch 2 or your Switch if they don't like you. This is just a way to basically stop streamers and YouTubers from basically recording Nintendo games. That's all this is. If you do something they don't like, Mr. Nintendo will break your kneecaps and break your Switch 2 or your Switch. And then no one will believe that you're innocent, because people will think it's piracy or that you were trying to install mods or something, but it's just Nintendo trying to send a message by basically breaking people's consoles, even though that's not a thing, and they're not going to go after thousands of people en masse because you say or do something that slightly annoys Nintendo. And if you are trying to mod the Switch 2, you sort of deserve the stupid nonsense that happens to you, because that's not something you should ever do. Never mod a current console ever. People act like Nintendo is super against mods and emulation and stuff, but they tend to leave you alone if you're sticking to their older consoles and games. And more specifically, if you're not providing links or information on where to download ROMs and other types of game rips like GameCube ISOs. Nintendo does not care as much as people act like they do. And any of you that are stupid enough to mod the Switch 2 and complain when that goes badly, that is your fault. This terms of service bullshit has been blown way out of proportion. And Nintendo is not going to use this as a way to basically attack YouTubers and Twitch streamers they don't like because people are acting like, oh, because they could brick your console, that Nintendo is against people basically playing their games under any circumstance anyway. And this would be a good excuse to basically destroy the consoles of anyone that they don't like, even if the person or people they don't like are technically doing something that has nothing to do with the Switch 2. Because I've seen a bunch of random scattershot crazy people seem to indirectly infer if you do anything that pisses off Nintendo, that they'll conveniently brick your Switch or your Switch 2. Like, Nintendo sees someone streaming a game and they learn that person is streaming the game via Dolphin. They learn what email account is attached to that person's Nintendo Network ID in their Switch 2 and they brick that console. Nintendo is not going to do that. They're not going to just attack people for no reason. And yes, they hypothetically could, but that's fucking insane. And I wish people would slow down with all of this Nintendo hate lately because it is getting incredibly stupid. I just thought this was a good time to ask this type of question and focus on this type of topic because, good God, I am getting tired of this fear-mongering bullshit. The terms of service are not shocking. Other companies use those. Remotely breaking a console, if it comes down to that, is usually a last resort. If you're doing something stupid and completely illegal. And if Nintendo is mad at you for other reasons, they could just pursue other avenues. They don't need to brick your Switch or your Switch 2 because that would technically be a very targeted attack they could actually get in trouble for. Oh, this person is playing Super Mario Sunshine on Dolphin, so let's brick their Switch 2. The Switch 2 does not have anything to do with Dolphin. And for the most part, as long as you're actively not providing people with sites or links or any combination of any way to get a ROM or an ISO that someone doesn't own, Nintendo doesn't really care as much. Even if it is piracy to download games and stuff you don't own, even Nintendo is not going to try and fight thousands of people in court over small, minor cases of piracy, especially over older games and stuff, because even Nintendo doesn't have enough money to fight thousands and thousands and thousands of people at once. That becomes a huge money sink, and most companies turn a blind eye to people playing games on emulators and stuff as long as you're not an idiot, because they can't 100% prove or disprove whether or not the game you're playing was ripped by you, and they don't want to try and fight people. So usually, as long as you're not personally providing people with games or telling them where to get games, most companies don't care as much because they realize they could try and take random people to court over small piracy violations, but it's not worth it. And even Nintendo realizes that. You need to be a massive idiot to actually get a target on your back. And most of these companies are willing to turn a blind eye to people because you don't really have proof either way. And it's not worth trying to fight people if the person otherwise seems harmless. And most companies, for all their games and stuff, don't care as much. Now, newer games, that will get your ass in trouble. And this goes back to why Nintendo shut down Switch emulators, but I'm starting to ramble. I just feel like everyone is fear-mongering a bunch of nonsense, and it bothers me. But anyway, you can leave your thoughts, opinions, and answers in the comments, or you can leave them on social media. All of my social media links, as well as my Discord links, are in the video description. Now, as always, I need to be a shill for a minute. If you subscribe to the channel, if you follow me on social media, that really helps our communities grow. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope I will see you all next time. So, as always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody. I hope you come back someday. See you later.